Well, yeah, the old saying is true. Sometimes you just never know in the NFL what can happen. Last week the Eagles had one of their more ugly games in certainly the most ugliest game of the season when they got walloped by Washington. Um, and of course, going into this week, as most of us in Eagle Nation said going into this week's game against Minnesota, it's going to be a tough one because the Vikings, not just that they're 5-0, but that defense, looked to be really good. And the Eagles' offensive line last week, without Lane Johnson there, looked pretty bad. And again today, look, the offensive line wasn't great to start, but I think as the game went on, it did get better. I certainly think Vaitai had a better game this week than he had a week ago against Ryan Kerrigan. And the Eagles, defense certainly looked a whole lot better than they did last week, and really the first half of Detroit a couple weeks ago. This defense looked back to what they were doing the first 3 weeks of the season when they were really amongst the best defenses in the league, getting turnovers, making plays, big plays in big moments, holding down the opponent. They got back to that this week, and you know what? Going into the week, I think they had to hear it, all week about how horrible they played a week ago, against the Redskins offense, which really isn't that great. The Eagles defense just looked completely, lackluster. Not tackling, penalties, giving up way too many yards on plays, touchdowns, not looking like an NFL defense. Well, today they certainly did, and the Eagles 21-10 win against the short-lived former Eagle Sam Bradford and the Minnesota Vikings. Eagles go to 4-2, a big win, and I said this a week ago that it's a roller coaster ride. When you're a fan in the NFL, it's a roller coaster ride, and I took some heat. There was someone who wrote and was pretty adamant about how Eagle fans overreact to everything, although, NFL fans, I think, in general overreact to anything. I think football fans in general do because it's a week-to-week sport. The beauty of football is it's played once a week, and you have a whole week to digest and discuss about what happened in the game, whether it was a win or a loss. Now the last 2 weeks it's been 2 L's coming off the bye week. The first 3 weeks were 3 W's. It's really been a tale of two different teams. The first 3 weeks the Eagles looked great, and they were 3-0. They beat Pittsburgh at the time when a lot of people thought they weren't going to win that game. They come out angry. Seemingly people weren't giving them any credit for 2-0 start, even though it was against Cleveland and Chicago. So they come out and they take care of business against Pittsburgh. And some of the naysayers at that time got quiet. And then after the Eagles bye week, they lose a tough one in Detroit on just a couple bad turnovers at the end. And then last week they get crushed against the Redskins. And the emotions are going to be up and down. That's just the life of a fan of an NFL team. It doesn't matter if it's the Eagles or the Steelers or the Packers or the plug name of team here. This is what the life is of an NFL fan. If you're a fan of a team in the NFL, you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. It's just how it is. It's called having passion and being passionate about your team. I always say this, and fan is short for fanatic. And whether you're a fan of an NFL team, an MLB team, NBA, NHL, you're going to ride the roller coaster. That's just how it is. And I've made these videos here for the Eagles. Being an Eagles fan, I should say, now this is my 3rd season doing this. And so far, since starting this series, I haven't been able to talk about playoffs or any kind of real success. The Eagles, I mean, the first season I did this got off to a great start, and then after Thanksgiving fell apart. I mean, last season they never were quite in it. Maybe at the very beginning, maybe towards the first quarter of the season, but then after that it was just god awful. And now this season started out so great, and then of course the 2 losses. Well, now we're back in the win column and things feel a little better. But that's the life of a fan. That's what it is. That's why I make this series. I might not go off on big rants like other fans do. I might not, go crazy or call people out or do this or that. But I'm not a member of the TTC. I don't have anything against people who are. I think it's a really cool community. I watch their videos. A lot of people like the EDP and the like. They just they do their thing in those communities. It's just not something for me. I'm pretty busy. I don't think I can keep up with it, to be honest. All I really can do is make this video every week after every Eagles game and talk about the game a bit and talk about what it is to be a fan of this team. If that offends people, don't watch my videos. I'm sorry. If you think that, you're just going to label me as a typical Philadelphia fan, well, that's your opinion. But if Philadelphia fans bother you, don't watch my videos, because I'm a Philadelphia fan. That's what I am. When I get into my new house and I have that whole basement full of Philadelphia paraphernalia, Philadelphia sports paraphernalia, and I show it and I'm in there, if that's going to bother people, don't watch. I live in this area. I'm just 25 minutes outside the city limits. I love being in this area. I love rooting for these teams, even though they let me down a lot more than not. I have passion for them. I wouldn't want it any other way. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I wouldn't want to be anything else. And, I know we get a lot of heat. We take a lot of heat, right or wrong. But at the end of the day, we're going to root for our teams, just as any other fan base does. Maybe we do it a little more lustfully in some ways, but that's who we are. I mean, I'm sorry. If that bothers people, I can't help you. But it's like, damn, man, change the record. I mean, the things that I have to hear from people sometimes, it's like, I've heard this all before. I mean, you're not telling me anything that I haven't already heard about 100 times. So for people to come to me and say, oh, you're the Philadelphia fans this and you're that, well, you know what? I mean, all I can do in these videos is break down the games as best I can and talk about being a fan, because that's what I am. In this video, this series, it's like I always say, I keep it 100. I keep it 100% with my viewers. I'm not going to try to be something that I'm not. I'm not going to, I'm not going to go out of character or out of nature. This is what I am. I'm a fan. This is the team that I root for. I've rooted for this team since 1993. I have a history with this team. I've had good years. I've had bad years. In between years, if there's such a thing, I've seen a lot of players and a lot of coaches come and go. Players that I wish were still here were let go. I've seen just about everything you can see with this team through thick and thin, and I'm always going to be a fan. I hope to God someday to see them win a Super Bowl. That's my dream. That's the dream of all of Eagle Nation. I mean, I'm seeing the Cubs in the World Series, this year, and they're making the World Series for the first time in 71 years. Now, Eagle fans haven't gone since, what was it, 1908, with winning a championship. But 1960 was an awful long time ago. I wasn't around for that. And I respect those players who were there and the fans who were there to watch that. I wish I was there to see it. But all I want is for this team to win. That's all I want to see. And hopefully someday they'll be able to get it to me. I do think they're on the right path right now. I think they have the right coach. I think they have the right quarterback. I think they have some of the right pieces in place. You talk about defense. They need to get a little more help on offense. Lane Johnson needs to not even look at another PED for the rest of his life. They're not perfect. But you know what? They're building something here. And as I said last week, it's tough because all 4 of our teams are building something. And it's like we're almost in this perpetual state of rebuild. And it sucks. I mean, it sucks to have to go through this, but what can we do as a fan base? There's nothing we can do but just watch and hope that they hit on the players that they get, and that they make the right moves. And to this point, I will say that I think the Eagles made the right move by bringing in Doug Peterson as their head coach, and I think they made the right move by bringing Carson Wentz as their quarterback, as their future franchise quarterback. I think so far it's worked out. I know it's not perfect. I mean, Carson is still a rookie. I think people need to realize that. He is going to make mistakes, but at times he's going to look great. And the first 3 weeks of the season, he looked great. He didn't look like a rookie. Well, the last couple weeks, there's been times he has. Let us not forget today they went up against who I still think is the best defense in the league in Minnesota. Certainly one of the best pass rushes in the league. It's a tough team to go up against. I mean, they have made, great quarterbacks look very mediocre so far this season. So for Carson to come out in this game and struggle a bit, you know what? It is what it is. He was playing against a great defense. Sometimes you just got to tip the hat to the other team, to the other defense. They played great. Minnesota came out in this game early on. They were getting turnovers. They were making things happen, but the Eagles adjusted, and they were able to, make the plays in the second half, and Minnesota couldn't. Got to tip the hat to the Eagles defense. I mean, they were out there literally flying today, making plays left and right. You knew that they really wanted this one, because there was a lot of talk about Sam Bradford and, should they have traded him, and, Carson Wentz and Bradford Wentz, and you knew this defense wanted to, send a little message that, what, we got the, we got the right guy in Carson, and, Sam, thanks for visiting, but yeah, you got to go. And they had to hear it, like I said, all week about how horrible they played. And all they had to do was look at the tape. And the tape doesn't lie. And they looked horrible last week. I mean, tackling, it's like this team needed to have a tackling clinic all week long after that performance a week ago. And they were probably, ridden hard this week from the coaching staff, rightfully so. I mean, you look bad, there has to be some changes made. And this team came out with a completely different attitude today. Just like we saw the first 3 weeks, they kind of got back to that, and they looked dominant. I mean, you go up against the Minnesota and that great defense, and you can match them, and do more than match them, but beat them, that's pretty damn good. And so you got to, what, we criticized last week, and rightfully so. This defense looked horrible. They looked like the worst defense in the league last week. But you know what, this week they got back to what they were at the beginning of the season, a dominant defense. And that's without Benny Logan in the lineup. Benny was out today. Don't know exactly when he'll be back. But other guys came in, stepped up. I mean, Bo Allen, the polar bear. Great nickname there. He stepped up, made a big play, got a fumble recovery. Came into the position for Benny and made some plays. Fletcher Cox, we heard his name today for a reason other than a penalty. So it was good to see him making some plays. I mean, the secondary, you know what? I mean, the corners are still going to need some help, but the safeties were out there making some, McLeod made some nice plays. I think he had an interception. Malcolm Jennings at one point looked like he scored a touchdown, but it was called back because he was a touchdown when he came up with that. I believe that was a fumble recovery early in the game, but he played. They were balling today. I mean, this defense kind of got back to what they were doing. Maybe they made a statement today and said, you know what, we're back to being us again. You're in trouble, Dallas. Excuse me. I'm just coming off a cold, by the way. It's been a bit of a rough week. I needed this win today because it was a pretty rough week. I had a cold, and now I have a freaking ulcer. One of those mouth. You know that they just suck, don't they? Just like at the back of my mouth right there. So the week health-wise for me hasn't been so good, but I'm feeling a little better now with the Eagles win. And it was a good weekend for Philadelphia. A good weekend for this area football-wise. You had Temple winning a big game on Friday night. Penn State upset Ohio State last night, and then the Eagles got a win. So it was a pretty good football weekend here in the in the Philly area, and of course Central PA with Penn State. So anyhow, Eagles win 21-10. Not a lot to write home with offensively. They made some plays. Dorial Green-Beckham, first touchdown, I believe, was his first touchdown of this season. First touchdown as an Eagle. Congrats to him. Josh Huff. I mean, talk about turning a game around. I mean, the Eagles are down 3-0. On the ensuing kickoff, there goes Josh Huff for a big touchdown, which Blair Walsh didn't want any part of it. Pretty much gave him the old Ole tackle attempt there. But Josh Huff, big touchdown there. Eagles get the 2-point conversion on a 2-point run by Carson Wentz. Of course, showing some toughness there, going toe-to-toe with Kendricks. Of course, Michael Kendricks' brother, who plays on Minnesota, and beat him to the end zone. So a nice show there by the rookie QB. And then like I said, it wasn't a great game offensively, but they did do things better certainly this week than they did a week ago against Washington. Offensive line started a bit of a struggle, but they certainly ended well. I think they had a pretty good performance all told. Ryan Matthews, though, another fumble. Late in the fourth quarter. I know at that point it wasn't that concerning because you figured, Minnesota was struggling so much offensively. Even at that point, I didn't think they were going to be able to come back in that game. But still, my goodness, Ryan, you got to hold on to that ball. But you know what? Tough runs when they had them. Wendell Smallwood, some nice runs. Matthews, nice catch and runs for Darren Sproles. Again, better. It was better, certainly, than it was a week ago. It wasn't great, but it was better. It was certainly better, and that was a good thing. That was a good thing to see. And you know what? Have a little momentum going into next weekend. Big game against another team coming off the bye. My God, what's it with the schedule makers? Every week we're going to be playing a team coming off a bye. Well, I think it helped us today, though. And I do think, again, it could be a similar situation next week. Dallas, everyone's talking them up. Maybe they'll be smelling themselves a bit. They're at home. You never know. I know their offensive line is the best in football right now. They're playing really well. But the one defensive line that they have had problems with over the years, you know who. The Eagles' defensive line has given that offensive line fits the last few years. And that's even when DeMarco Murray was the leading rusher a few years ago in the NFL. The Eagles' defense was able to stop him pretty good in those two games, including the blowout win on Thanksgiving, which was the last good moment for the Eagles that season. But we won't remember that now. Actually, the Eagles, they won in Dallas last year, too, in overtime on the Jordan Matthews touchdown. So the Eagles have a little bit of a history of winning at the Jerry Dome since it's opened. The Eagles have a winning record there, actually. So it's going to be a big game. It's a big game against two of the best in the NFC East right now. Eagles in Dallas next week. And you know what? It's also a chance for the Dallas fans to shut up because, we don't really hear from them after losses. We hear from them after wins. I'm talking about the local fans, the ones that like to jump on when they're winning, and when they're losing, then they become like Patriot fans or Bronco fans or, something else. We don't really hear them talk about Dallas much anymore for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why. They just they come and go. And now I want them to go. They're getting a little too happy, and we got to try to put a stop to it. It's going to be a tough game. I do believe that Ezekiel Elliott is for real. I liked him coming out of college. Like I said a week ago, I wish he didn't go to Dallas. I was really hoping he would go somewhere else. Dak Prescott looks like the real deal too. But you know what? The Eagles defense, you play the way you did today, they can beat anybody. They have showed at times this season today's game against Pittsburgh. The first two games, of course, you can say, well, it was Cleveland and the Bears. Well, you know what? You play who you play, okay? It's on your schedule. You got to play them. But those first three games, and now again today against Minnesota, they look pretty dominant. And now if they can continue on that path next week against Dallas, they'll have a chance to get another W. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be, kind of cool to see the two rookies go head-to-head there and Wentz and Prescott. I hope Wentz gets the better of Prescott, but their first meetup in their NFL careers. Um, we'll see. It's going to be a tough game. I mean, there's no disputing that. I mean, you're on the road against a team that's pretty hot, but they are coming off a bye. Maybe they start off a little sluggish. Who knows? And the Eagles, who knows? Maybe they jump on them early. It is sometimes that does happen with a team coming off a bye. You're not 100. Particularly when everything's going on all cylinders, and you have that bye week, and then you come back from the bye, and it's like, it takes you about a quarter or so sometimes to get going again. The Eagles against Detroit, it took them a half. I'm not saying that that's why the Eagles beat the Vikings today, because the Vikings offense was doing nothing. Basically the whole game, the Eagles defense was that dominant. But maybe they are catching Dallas next week at the right time, coming off a bye. And there is already some talk in the air. Oh, when Romo comes back, do they start him or do they keep Prescott in there? So there's already some talk going on there. So who knows? But big week. Dallas week is always a big week. Those local fans, and they get on local radio and start talking it up and everything. And then of course they don't really usually call back the day after the game if they lose. But I don't know why. I don't know why. Why is that? But anyhow. Anyhow, it's a big week as always. It's going to be my first weekend in my new house too. So what a way to usher in the new house with an Eagles-Dallas game. Sunday Night Football, NBC. I'll be watching it there. The first game I watch at the new house, the Eagles have to win, right? You know what? It's ushering in the new house. We got to usher it in with a W, Eagles. If anything else, you got to do it for me. Do it for me in my new house, okay? That's motivation enough. All right, everyone. Well, I rambled on for almost a little over 22 minutes. I'm trying to keep it short, but I never can do that. Thank you to all my watchers, all my subscribers. Of course, this is one series I do. Of course, the jersey pickups and all that will continue on once I have some new ones to show. Hopefully in the next week or two, after everything's settled in with the new house, and I'll be able to get back into the collecting game a bit. I can't do, what I was doing, but at least I can do something, right? So, anyhow, hey, I'm happy the Eagles got a win today. Relieved, too, because the last 2 weeks have been painful. Two losses, a tough one in Detroit, and then last week, just how they looked, like reverting back to a season ago. And it was just tough to take. It was tough to have to deal with that for 2 weeks. So a win always helps things, always makes things better. So as always, hey, great win tonight for the Eagles. Great win today against a previously undefeated Vikings. Now they're 5-1, so there is no more undefeateds in the NFL anymore. The 72 Dolphins can thank the Eagles for. I guess it's too early in the season to really be, thanking people, but for stopping an undefeated team. But yes, there is not going to be an undefeated team yet again this season. The 72 Dolphins still the only one to do so. Maybe the Eagles do it some year. That would be cool. Eagles, great win today. Great team win. Defense played incredible. Balled out. Back to what they were doing. I was glad to see that. As we say, here in Philly, we love a great defense, and this defense played really well today. So kudos to them for turning it around after a just awful performance against the Redskins. And hey, the Redskins lose to the Lions today too. So even bigger win that way for the Eagles to get back to that 4-2 record, and a huge one next Sunday night at the Jerry World in Dallas. Eagles, Cowboys, first meeting of the season. Looking forward to it. Hopefully, Birds can come out on top in that one and get a bit of a winning streak going. So, should be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Usually, I get geared up for Eagles-Dallas games, and this one's not going to be any different. So, looking forward to it. Hopefully, the Birds can come out with a big W and big D. And we'll talk about that game next week after the game. Probably make that video next Monday. Well, not Monday, actually, unless I can, because Monday is Halloween. That's my favorite holiday. I got to give out the candy to the trick-or-treaters. I can't screw it up the first year in the new house on Halloween. I can't let those the kids think, oh, here's a grump doesn't want to give out candy on Halloween. I certainly don't want to be labeled that. It is my favorite holiday. I usually go all out. I probably won't be able to do as much this year as I normally do decoration-wise, but, I'm going to decorate that house in some way, in form or fashion, and hand out candy. So I might not have the video. I'm just letting my viewers know this, okay? Including you, Dennis Santos, okay? I might not have the video for the game against Dallas until the following Tuesday. So it might not be Monday. Monday's Halloween. And so I'm probably going to have that next video about the reactions to the game. Hopefully it will be a win to talk about next Tuesday. So I'll be a little late to the party, but I will have a video. Don't worry. I always do, and I will. It might not be till next Tuesday, but it will be there, hopefully talking about another Eagles victory. All right, everyone. Until then, let's go Birds, and I'll see you in the next video. The next video, by the way, is probably going to be the pickup video of Mighty Fan's new house. So be on the lookout for that. Probably have that up by next weekend sometime, maybe, or maybe even Halloween or Tuesday or something. I'll fit it in somewhere. But I'll have it up, and I'll see you guys in that one. All right, everyone, take care.